Okay, so now I guess it's time to go on to some more depressing news. And this was in the news last Saturday. I chose not to cover it then because it was kind of breaking. Well, not breaking. It's been happening, but it's been accelerating. And that is pole shift. So I don't know if you've been keeping up with the news on this one, but the magnetic pole is moving at a more rapid pace than it has in the last several hundred years. Now, whether this is normal or not is hard to determine because we've only been keeping track of this thing for a couple hundred years. But it is slightly troubling because of some of the possibilities that you could have as fallout from a pole shift. And we're going to talk about a little bit of that tonight. First of all, I want to bring up a chart here. And there's our movement chart, as you can see. Looks like they started keeping track of it in about 1590. And here we are, and well, that chart only goes to 2010, but it's moved so fast that they've had to kind of redo the chart here in the last few years. It's moving quite a bit. So,
and like you said, it could be a normal cycle over the course of millions of years.
yep, it could be, and so we don't know. We could be that we've been sitting on that flat line for the last 10,000 years, and we're about to experience something unpredictably bad. Or it could be,
Absolutely could be.
yeah, or it could be that this is something that happens on maybe a 500 or 1,000, 1,000 year cycle where we're getting ready to go through that big loop of the cycle. There are evidence, of course, we've done deep drilling in the Arctic or in the Antarctic, and when you get down there, there's fossilized tropical plants. So there you go. At some point, the Antarctic was a tropical place. Now, does that mean that it was sitting in the tropics, or we don't know what happened? Did the Earth tilt? Did the Earth move? Or did the poles shift and cause massive climate change? We don't know. But it's definitely something worth talking about, something worth noting. And I find it interesting that mainstream news is choosing to cover this story. So, well, yeah. So, Psycho, for you saying aren't pole shifts? They are and they aren't. So obviously we know that they have happened, but we don't know how often they have happened. So they do happen. The two prevailing theories are one that's this moves real slow all the way around the globe, right? So in the course of say 100,000 or maybe a million years, the pole will move, to the equator, and then we slowly have these changes where it won't affect things very much. But the other theory is that we have these long periods of nothing, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, maybe a change in the magnetic field of the sun, maybe an external force on the solar system that we have yet to even discover, but something snaps and cracks and pops, and we just flip. And if any of you, and Jason, I know we were talking about before the show went live, the movie 2012.
Not somewhere we want to be.
Yeah, that is obviously a worst case scenario, and that would be, I'll go ahead and pull up a picture of that theory. That is crustal displacement. So
See, I wonder if we're taking that into consideration, because what next we're going to talk about, you're talking about the magnetic forces preventing meteors or maybe attracting meteors if it switches, or the super volcano under Yellowstone. I mean, that could all, I wonder if it all ties in. I wonder if they're considering those factors.
exactly, that's kind of what I'm thinking myself, is that what we're looking at, and as we move towards our main topic tonight, the Mandela effect, what we're looking at here is related more to some of the other articles that we were talking about, which is meteor impacts in the world. So we have magnetic fields that surround the Earth, and let me go ahead. I'll pull one up here. Oh gosh, I might have. There we go. So we have our pole, right? We have our magnetic pole, and we have our geographical pole. The geographical pole is where the Earth spins around on that axis. Our magnetic pole moves slightly from side to side, but those little waves, and that's a pretty poor picture. That's like just a goofy picture of it. But let me see if I can find. Hold on one second.
So are you trying to show the way it's?
Yeah, I guess I didn't pull up that. So in outer space there, we have solar winds and radioactivity, and obviously all the bad things coming off of the sun, and all the bad things coming off of, out of the galaxy, just radiation waves and all that. And our magnetic field protects us from a lot of that. And if you look at the way the solar winds and the gamma rays and all the rays and stuff coming from the sun, that magnetic field protects us, and the majority, say 99%, maybe even higher than that, blow right past the Earth because we're protected by that field. So what the worry here is that if we're experiencing some kind of giant magnetic pole shift, or if it were to suddenly flop halfway over and hit the equator, the North Pole became the equator. Perhaps during that cycle, and it could take a week, a month, a year, or a decade, during that time, our Earth would then become extremely vulnerable to all the damage that all the other planets in our solar system experience. Look at the moon and all the impact craters on it. Look at look at all the other planets where the atmosphere has been completely wiped off because of those forces from deep space. So that magnetic field kind of protects our atmosphere, kind of protects our planet. And even if we're looking at a decade, hell, even if we're looking at a week where the magnetic field completely deteriorates as it readjusts and rebuilds, a week without any protection could burn, think about just skin damage. Just think about UV radiation. Just think about plant life damage. Just think about all the things that we are protected from that we would no longer be protected from. So it's certainly something to keep an eye on, something to be interested in. Again, this could take place over the course of 100,000 years, and it won't bother us at all. But it also could happen.
See it.
Yeah, could happen overnight. So we gotta wonder.
Yeah, Michael Sean asking about waning field.
Yeah, so the magnetic field of the Earth is actually diminishing. It's not as strong as it was, and there's also a lot of theories on that. So the wonderful thing about this, and I say that I don't like to bring up politics, but I'm about to, just kind of jokingly here. It's the only reason that that no one cares about this as much as they care about global warming is that they haven't figured out a way to make money on the magnetic fields or the solar cycle of the Earth. So that's my theory on that anyway, is that, as soon as somebody figures out a way to say, we got to protect the magnetic field of the Earth and we've got to kickstart the sun. It's, the the solar cycles, it's not ramping up enough, As soon as somebody figures out.
Somebody's in a room right now trying to figure it out.
Oh, you can bet it, buddy. You can bet it. So you can definitely bet on that. So, yeah, when they figure that out, then we'll all be worried. It'll be plastered all over the news, and the Democrats and Republicans and everybody in between will be arguing over how best to nuke the sun, or, I don't know, man. We're just going to have to just collect all the magnets on Earth and put them at the North and the South Pole, and just to keep it in place. Who knows what the hell. Anyway, That's it. So that brings us, unfortunately, onto another kind of sad source here. Let me go back and turn that off. And that is, let's talk about some of the actions and reactions if we do not have a magnetic field that's strong enough. Well, we're more likely to take one of these and have a big old problem like that. So that would be a giant meteorite. It's like, go for you saying this. No. Well, you know what? Maybe the Russians are stealing all that magnetic energy. They figured out some way to use it. And, we're going to talk about this later on tonight, but it's the CERN. The CERN is an anti-magnet, and it's sucking all the magnetic field out of the Earth. So there you go.
That's right.
Anyway, there was an article that I read this week, and this is why I bring up this meteor stuff, and it kind of ties into that magnetic field. The scientists have determined that it looks like over the last 300 million years or so, the amount of meteor impacts, or the amount of large meteor impacts that have actually made it through and hit us, have increased threefold, which is not a small amount, especially since, it only takes one biggin to wipe us all off the face of the Earth, right? So, yeah, that's real. So they don't know why. Again, research, and as soon as they figure out they can politicize it, we'll all know about it. But for right now, they can only tell us that, yes, it is true. And we talked a little bit last week about the large, relatively small in the scale of things, but relatively large in damage meteor that hit the Russian country. I don't remember where it hit in Russia. It was up near Serbia. No, not Serbia. Siberia. But I think it was in the 15 megaton range, and that's a relatively small rock, maybe less than 100 meters across. So we're looking at one the size of the one in this picture here. That would obviously put us back into an ice age, probably kill everyone within 100 or 200 miles of any coast on the planet. So
it don't take much to do damage from those things.
No, and it used to be when I was a kid and didn't really understand physics or didn't understand the complexity of the situation. I thought, well, if we get nailed by a big one and it hits the water, we'll all be okay. But if it hits land, we're all doomed. Turns out we're doomed either way, because if it hits the water, it vaporizes enough water. First, it boils off the water and, cloud cover. We're living in the clouds for the couple decades at least, pushes us into an ice age, which is probably how the Younger Dryas event got started. Melted the ice cap and it hit the water, and that was that. But the flood theory, or not flood theory, but the legend of floods that permeate just about every culture, Noah's Ark, the Indians have one. our Indians, American Indians, have one as well. Chinese have it in their culture. That was probably, again, a large flood caused by sudden warming from an impact of a large meteor. Air code 503 says he doesn't want to die. My friend, let me be the one to break the bad news to you.
You're not getting out of this life alive.
Yeah, the one thing we all share, brother. We're all checking out of here. No one gets out of here alive, man. So sorry about that.
Appreciate that, Big Jim. Thank you, man.
Hey, Big Jim, thank you, man. Appreciate that. Seriously. Looks like we picked up a few people, man. Good. I'm glad to see. Up in the 20s now. Yeah, so that's nice. All right, so let me get rid of that one. I'll show you some evidence of some previous hits.
For the new people coming in, sorry to cut you off, Eric.
Go ahead.
We figured out the three-way call. So if you're brave enough to give a call, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
It's live pulling the Midnight Cafe through Skype. So reach on out. Let us know what you think and whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, man. So, yeah. So I can't believe we're 40 minutes in and no one's had the you-know-whats to call, but it's okay. I promise you. We won't
He's
bite.
taunting y'all in case y'all didn't know that.
That's right, yeah. Come at me, bro. Citizen Press, I know where you got that shirt. Shh. Don't say anything, bro Weaver. That's a secret. If we say that name, we not only get demonetized, we get delisted, de-thised, and de-that, deplatformed. Someday I'm going to go on an epic Mad Dog rant, and Jason will tell you all about my rants. All about censorship, my friend. Don't get me fired up on our second show. Butch24XR152. Oh my gosh, we got a call, my friend. Hang on a second.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to hang it up. Hello, Bill. How you doing?
Hey, Eric. How's it going?
Good, good. Give me 1 second. I'm going to figure out how to add Mr. Jason back in here.
All right.
Let's see here. How do I do this?
It's,
There we go. Oh,
Yep, there we are.
wait. Are you there? Oh,
I'm
no,
here.
I lost him
Is he
again.
there?
Hold on. Let me see. Bill, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let me do that. Add to call, maybe? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
new group call or add to call. Yeah.
Let's try that. Oh, I think it's calling his other line. Dang it. Let's see here. Jason.
Yes.
Bill, you still there?
Yeah. I'm still here. Hey, Jason here.
It's a miracle. Our first
Yeah.
official
We said
caller.
we got it working. We didn't say we got it working well.
Yeah, I think I was the second caller on the first show, so now I'm the second and third caller.
This is awesome, man. This is awesome. Thank you for being brave and joining the show. We got some people coming in here saying hello, Eric and all. Psycho for you saying we have a place like that in Central Oregon. It's called the Hole in the Ground. Post the phone number, Mayhem RV. The phone number is live, the Midnight Cafe. It should show up on the side of your screen there. Somebody's saying F censorship. I agree with that 1,000,000%. And how you doing tonight, man? What would you like to talk about, my friend?
No, not much. I'm still slaving away in the kitchen on that jambalaya, so I can't chat too long. But I just wanted to say hi and
Don't burn that.
yeah, and the what's interesting is that people that use CBs seem to have a lot of other things in common, like UFOs, cigars, and
It's true.
mechanical things.
It is, man.
I never put that together until I started watching your videos and shows.
That's really interesting, man. But you're right. There's a lot of other channels out there that talk radios, and they'll be like little homesteading channels, and you're right. I never really thought about that, but that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Oh,
So-
that's awesome, man. So what's your take on these meteors? You think we're dodging bullets, or you think we got 20, 30, 40,000 years before we get another whopper?
Well, I mean, we have historical records of having catastrophes due to meteor strikes. So, and we still see them come by. They still hit the planet. It happens a lot in Russia, it seems like. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that we're going to be extinct at some point. I mean, either we're going to do it ourselves, through war, or we're going to get hit by a meteor or something.
What do you think? Do you think? Are you familiar with the Younger Dryas event?
Which one?
It's called the Younger Dryas event. Bright Insight talks about it. So it's a meteor that the best theory at this point is that humanity had a false start. Like we kind of became somewhat sophisticated. We were working our way towards what we are today, and then we were knocked off our feet for a good 5,000 years, give or take, by a meteor impact. That's the best one. They seem to have found a crater somewhere in Iceland underneath the ice sheet. And their theory is that a meteor of, relatively small but big enough size nailed the ice sheet and vaporized it, putting us back into an ice age, and it really knocked humanity where it existed at the time off of its feet. I'm just wondering if that is something that's far more normal and far more cyclical than we really give it credit for.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we've been going strong for thousands of years now, so we're due for one. Like I unfortunately live in California, and we're due for another massive earthquake.
Yeah, the big one.
We just had the I think it was 20-year or 25-year anniversary of the Northridge quake.
Yeah. Now my sister was out there when that happened. That was a doozy. The bridge collapsed and everything else.
I was in Alaska on Kodiak Island when it happened, and we had a tsunami alert. We all had to climb to higher ground.
It's insane. I've got family in Alaska right now, and they just went through a fairly decent quake themselves not more than a few months back there that damaged their house. And these things do happen, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, we're due for something, but I mean, you just can't just worry about it all the time.
No, I don't live my life worrying that this is the day that the meteor is going to smash me flat. But I do find it interesting. I love I don't know, maybe it's just that it's a good mystery. Our history, at least ancient history, is a good mystery. And I spend probably far too much time reading and watching other people's videos on some of these subjects, and it just fascinates me. And then maybe that's what drew me to Coast in the first place. But yeah, there's more going on than we'll ever understand, and I think it's part of our job here on the planet to try and understand, don't you?
Yeah, and fortunately, we have some of the world's best pipe drillers and oil fields, so we can just shuttle them up there to one of those asteroids and have them drill in and nuke it.
We got Bruce Willis. No one else has Bruce Willis.
We talked about that.
And Bruce Willis and his team up there.
Hey, better hurry. Bruce is getting on in age, man. We gotta, better hurry up and find that thing. I saw him in a movie not too long ago, and I thought if he's gonna make another Die Hard, he better hustle.
Yeah. It's kind of like Sylvester Stallone.
Oh my God! In his 70s, making Rambo 6 or 5 or something like that, man. That's just. No, don't get me wrong. I love Rambo, so I'm looking forward to it. But 70 years old, man. Do you tell me there's any part of that dude that's still natural?
The last one was tough, man. The last one was tough.
But, I mean, we're due for some sort of catastrophic event, whether it be a meteor, the West Coast giant earthquake. I mean, it's just a waiting game for something like that to happen. I mean, space is so huge and so vast. I mean, just think about it. You can't even wrap your thoughts around how big it is.
No.
And so much debris flying out there,
All we have to miss is one.
A good reminder.
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, if you just think about it, that puts it in perspective. Like everyone's worried about the politics and think we have this world and this is our earth, but we are not in control at all. Like we have nothing. We are slave to this, and people who don't realize that, it's just going to be a big job.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean,
what's your opinion? Which one do you think will get us? I think we wipe ourselves out before something else has a chance to. But if we make it to the end of the 21st century, we'll probably get wiped out by something external. That's my theory. What's yours?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we'll wipe ourselves out as well. We have some pretty good, scientists out there tracking the heavens, and they pretty much know where everything is in our general area. And I'm sure there is something that's slowly heading our way. But it could be, it's not in the next 20, 50, 100 years, I would say.
I know this. If I all of a sudden see a whole lot of countries putting a whole lot of effort in putting themselves off planet, I'll get worried right then and there.
Yeah, they're doing that now. I mean, they're trying to put a colony on Mars.
Yeah. A sudden space race from out of nowhere, and I'm going to go, okay, when do they hope to have that built by? I guess that's probably the last day I'll be alive.
I'll probably hunker underground or something, doing those what do you call those nuclear shelters they
Yep.
had back in the
The old
50s?
fallout shelter.
Fallout shelter.
Yeah, exact fallout shelter. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Heck yeah, I love it. Well, I'm just going to pull up another picture of another crater here so we can get an idea how often these things apparently hit. I mean, these are kind of national sites here, but I don't know how old these are. I didn't do the research on these, but there's some doozies. I can imagine when that baby hit, it left a mark worldwide probably. Well, that's another
Well, I
one.
got to run and get back to my jambalaya so it doesn't burn. But I'm kind of going in between kitchen and my office watching your show. So
Well, hey man,
I'll let it go
yep.
so that someone else can call in. And
I want to thank you very, very much for being calling the show tonight and calling before. Man, it's nice to have people call in and join the conversation. It really makes the show a lot more fun for the two of us. And I hope you'll call us again. And thanks for listening, my friend.
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
thank you very much.
Okay,
Take care.
bye-bye.
Well, yeah, let's see. We got a whole bunch of messages here while we were talking, but yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. So, Air Code 503 saying, I hate cigars but enjoy cigarettes and my AM transceiver. Speaking of cigarettes, I usually do my cheap cigar reviews. You all know that, but I'm going to make an exception. I have not had a cigarette in, 21 years now. I'm going to have one.
I smoke enough for both of us.
Yeah, right, dude. I'm going to make one because I got a pack of Bucks, if anyone remembers what Bucks cigarettes were back in 1991, give or take. Pack of Bucks, man. So I got an unopened, sealed pack of Bucks, and I will do an opening video, and I'll take a drag or two. But that's all I'm taking because I think if I had one, I'd have 100, right?
That's how it happens.
Yes, sir. Jamaica Dog saying, error code, have you ever tried Cuba Cuba cigars? I could eat them, but they're great. Oh, my God. I will vouch, not for the eating part, but the Cuba Cuba is an excellent cigar. I did, in fact, have one today. The second one that I had, thanks to Jamaica Dog. So, again, shout out to you, my friend. Michael Sean, nothing new under the sun, to quote a wise old man. Oh, there's always new stuff under the sun. Stuff we just don't understand. Bro Weaver was asking about crop circles. Are they real? Do a show, please. I would love to. And in fact, I will mark that down. Jason, if you want to make a note of that, I'll try to remember that myself. But yeah, we definitely do that, crop circles. Very interesting stuff there. Some of it obviously blatantly fake. Some of it pretty hard to fake. Pretty weird stuff. So, Psycho, for you said that's a good possibility. Look at the purported stuff found under the Antarctica. Totally, yeah. Pole shifts, tropical climate change. I feel like we're still coming out of the Ice Age personally, and I feel like that the Earth lives mostly throughout history, or at least the last 1 or 2 million years worth of history, in a almost perpetual state of an Ice Age where the equatorial areas are about the only areas that life like us can exist. That's my theory. Let's see, look at the craters on the moon. Yeah. Bro Weaver's pointing out the craters on the moon. You look at those and you think to yourself, again, if the magnetic field were to collapse even for a week or so, we'd be taking some serious impacts, and that's why our planet doesn't take the beating that it takes. So if we lose it, we're definitely in for a rough ride there for a little while.
I can't help but wonder if it switches, if it wouldn't attract them.
And it might, yeah.
All the metals and everything.
Yeah, we just don't know. I can tell you, you look at that picture that's on the screen right now in that big hole. I mean, were we going through some kind of a magnetic reversal, or were we going through some kind of a field collapse when something that large snuck through and nailed us? So, entirely possible, entirely possible. Psycho for You's pointing out we will be the cause of our destruction. I tend to agree. In general, I would say we'll wipe ourselves out within the next 100 years. It's almost inevitable. There's just no way around it. If we don't wipe ourselves out completely, we'll at least knock ourselves back to to a long time ago state, pre-electrical state probably. Air Code 503 saying, I have heard the scientists conclude that all the gold on Earth came from meteorites. An interesting possibility. I had not heard that myself.
Not heard that either. That's interesting.
Huh. Stephen Dyer saying he's late to the party. Hey, Eric. Hey, Stephen. Good to have you joining the show. Appreciate you coming by. We're talking all kinds of weird stuff tonight. We haven't even gotten to the main topic, but we're almost an hour in right now. Air Code 503, Bucks and basic cigarettes got me working through the coal mine. So you actually, I can't believe I have somebody on my show right now that even knows what Bucks are. And if the pack wasn't out in the garage right now, I'd show a picture of it. But it is mint. I bought it on eBay, got it offline there, and had it mailed to me. It's a soft pack. The damn thing has been in the drawer for the last 30 years because it is perfect. It's almost a crime to open it, but I cannot help myself. I have to try it. I do remember Bucks. You'd like these cigarettes. You'd maybe get 2 or 3 drags out of them, and they were gone. It was like they were made out of gunpowder or something. They burned so fast. So, a very interesting cigarette for sure.
It's called cheap, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, there is cheap, and then there is like that was some special cheap right there. I'm just telling you. All right, let's see here. I got a couple more pictures I want to show, and then we're going to take a little.
Like the food.
What's that?
She said she hit the like button, but right after that, before that, she said she wondered if the magnetic fields could be created on the moon. I'm sure at some point they could be or could be there. I mean,
I don't know. You know, the moon is. We could probably spend a year just covering stuff on the moon. There's all kinds of weird theories on the moon. There's
we don't know anything about it. I mean, been there 3 times.
Yeah,
something like that.
I think they stayed for just a few hours too. For all that effort, just to stick around for a few hours. But you know, I think the Apollo lander, when it landed, they said that the moon rang like a bell, which makes you wonder if the dang thing isn't hollow, or at least partially hollow. Might have a subsurface to it, caves or whatever. And perhaps if that were the case, if it had a subterranean access to it that we could get in there, that would probably be a whole lot easier to build into a habitable place if there was natural underground caves there that we could get into. But yeah, the moon is super cool, man. I don't know. So let's see here. I think we're going to talk. You know what? I'll tell you what. We've gone a full hour. I could kind of use a break. I don't know about you, Rock and Woody, but why don't we hit a song